We are designing a look for the Met Gala. No, I'm not invited. Nobody asked me for this. I just can't resist the drama. It's the one night a year where high concept fashion steps out of its elite bubble and onto everybody's feed, like a special edition of Project Runway, except the brief is from Anna Wintour and the contestants are Couture legends. I'm Leigh. I'm a self-taught designer with a questionable relationship to deadlines, but I live for a couture challenge. So this is going to be my unofficial, unsolicited, but very committed attempt at a Met Gala look. And if this is Project Runway Met Gala edition, I guess that means that you're on the judging panel. So what are we actually making? I love trousers, crisp tailoring, a gorgeous wide leg. So naturally for this year's Met Gala, I'm making a dress. Apparently irony is my strong suit. Most people are probably gonna go full suiting here because it's just a really obvious choice. Suiting on its own is an art form, but I'm stepping away from the trousers very reluctantly. The last time I made a full Met Gala look, I did a fully custom quilted jumpsuit with wide leg pants. Instead, I'm doing a dress, but trying to incorporate some of those couture tailoring elements within it. It's gonna be unhinged, but it's also going to be amazing, so. The exhibit is called Superfine, Tailoring Black Style. It's about celebrating Black style and the brilliance of the Black dandy. This is the first exhibit to actually feature menswear since 2003. But the actual gala's theme is tailored for you. It's about personal style, no need to reference silhouettes that don't belong to you, your most you self, but turned up to about an 11. I have 3 weeks to do this in. I'm using fabric and materials I already have in my studio. Somehow it has to feel couture worthy, even if I'm only designing for the group chat. I'm gonna be sharing everything, the sketches, the mood boards, and hopefully we'll have a complete satisfying transformation arc. So hit that like and subscribe button if you're in it for the impractical fashion dreams with a little bit of a chaotic challenge to it. Woo! We love to start with the mood board. I started pulling out some of my old sketches, references of mine that incorporated either a tailoring detail that I loved or something that I thought could be valuable as an idea in the eventual outfit. These two shots from the Sakai and Gautier Couture show, the detailing was wild. This isn't about copying, it's about seeing something and having it spark an idea that you can keep that idea fresh, not necessarily that you're gonna copy and paste that onto a new garment. This look from Tremaine Emery for the brand Denim Tears showed up in the Met Gala press release in a lot of the Vogue articles. That diamond pattern all over the piece instantly reminded me of some of the quilt-inspired crochet work I've done before. And it got me thinking, could I bring that same heritage craft meets modern couture techniques energy into this piece? It's been such a big thread in my past design work as well. I was also chatting with a friend of mine about what tailoring might mean if we're not doing a traditional suiting. And for her, that instantly brought up Alexander McQueen. That reminded me how I'd studied his Joan collection last year, especially some of the jackets with sculpted collars that were part of the front bodice piece of the jacket. I added a design in a similar shape to that I'd done before to the board. Then Pinterest very fortuitously dropped this wild image from Maison Margiela. It was a jacket made with woven pieces of elastic. That was the unlock that I had needed. I didn't have a fancy couture textile lined up, but I did have a whole box of vintage ties. what if I wove my own fabric from those? Couture meets craft. What's more menswear than a box of ties? I threw all of those references together, plus my aggressively average drawing skills. Sketch actually appeared on the first try, which is pretty shocking. I honestly was not expecting to have a sketch done that early and that quickly. I had planned on actually giving myself a whole week to come up with the concept. Maybe all of the design muscle memory from all of the recent projects I've been doing is finally paying off. I wasn't completely sold on the shape yet, but I had an idea. It was time to prototype and test a weird idea that involved boiling fabric. I liked the ideas for the ties for the main body here. I wanted to try felting at the sleeve ends, taking the tie bits from the center and having them kind of transition into a more quilt-like material. I know that everyone voted and said that I didn't have time to make my own fabric, but I was like, maybe part of it could be the felted idea, so I just wanted to give it a go and see. I'm gonna be boiling some wool. We'll see how that works. I already have some like pre-made pieces. Ooh. This is 3 minutes. It looks like it's starting to felt a bit, but it's starting to felt, but it's not really shrinking. I was hoping it would actually shrink a bit more. I'm trying to get like a sturdier material out of this. So they did felt. They came out really nice and dense and thick, but maybe too thick. I mean, these aren't giving gravity-defying structure to me. These are giving like tea cozy. So not quite what I was going for, but at least now I know. Next up, the ties. Wow, so many ties. And they're so ugly. Some of these look like corporate trauma in a tie form. But some of them are silk. There's some jacquard in here. They're very dramatic. And a really fun fact, ties are actually all cut on the bias, which means that even if they're made from a stiff fabric or a non-stretch silk, they're always gonna have a little bit of a stretch, which is great, I guess, if you're tying something around your neck, and hopefully for weaving too. In this Margiela piece, you can see the elastics actually stretch within the weave. What that does is when it contracts, it actually creates a really firm, strong texture to it that makes it so you don't need seams to hold it in place. These ties have a little bit of stretch. They certainly aren't elastic, but I'm hoping that using them on the bias might help give the bodice a little bit more structure as well. This is either gonna look amazing or hideous. What do you think? Are we in serious danger with this tie concept here? Let me know your honest opinion in the comments. These ties were definitely never meant to be taken apart, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm cutting them open, removing the lining, pressing them flat, and now they look like an entirely different material. They're actually starting to look like a fabric, but I definitely don't want them to look like ties when I'm using them for the look. Now the question will be how to cut them up to maximize their fabric potential, to create some interest in the garment. I'm still like not sold on all of the prints and the patterns mixing together, but I'm trusting that it will work. I did keep all of the innards and things from all of the ties, and for a brief moment I was like, maybe that would be interesting in the garment, but honestly I think if anything I might use them as a stiffener for part of the skirt or the support, because I don't want this to look like a bandage situation, which is what this is giving me. But if I need you know, interfacing or stiffener for things, I have plenty. I had an old toile from a jacket that I hadn't finished that I was working on last year. It made the perfect place to start figuring out that neckline. The fit on this is definitely fitting really nicely. I still have the question of whether or not I want this to have that jacket closure that comes across here. I think it's such an amazing couture moment to potentially have bound buttonholes that match each of the different tie pieces, but also, will we have time? I had designed this drop waist skirt, and you're never gonna guess what inspired this. Our rescue cat, Van Halen. This little love bug is an inspiration. So he wasn't in the best of shape, so he had to have these giant mats shaved off. But now when he sits down, he has these big side floofs with a naked little tummy. I saw him sit and immediately thought, oh my gosh, he has two little side tutus, how cute. But also, wait, that's kind of an amazing silhouette. So, I mean, inspiration can come from anywhere, right? We need to do a toile for that shape too. I'm gonna be real with you right now. I think this is straddling the line a little bit between cosplay and couture. Ties are used a lot in upcycling projects, but they always look like ties. And so this could look like it's, I don't know, some sort of a recreation of a costume, and that's not what I'm going for. I want that drama, I want that structure, but with all of the elements that are on this piece, you know, between the dropped waist, the sculpted bodice, the overlay, the woven fabric made of literal deconstructed neckties, this might actually be a more complicated design than if I was just setting out to make a couture suit, which is a bit worrisome. But at the same time, I'm further along than I thought I was going to be this week. So will we finish? I'm hopeful. If you are rooting for me to finish this thing, thank you so much. Hit that like and subscribe button because I really could use the moral support. If you want more of the behind the scenes, the chaos, the polls that I'm doing between videos, there's a link to the newsletter that I'm sending out weekly below. I will see you next week.